And of course, once again, Curtis isn't telling Jordan, well, I was the one kissing you in the car, so it's kind of my fault too, babe. I'm just so sorry. No, none of that. Instead, Curtis gives Isaiah grief. Good morning, everybody. Here to talk about yesterday's not so good episode of General Hospital. They definitely irked me yesterday with the writing because you see, they tried to actually fix a plot hole with their plot driven writing, which actually surprises me. At first I was like, okay, they're at least trying to fix one of their plot holes, but in trying to fix their plot holes, they still made it so illogical that it was still bad writing that I just don't like. And that's what we're going to start with today. I'm talking about the Britt and Lucas conversation yesterday. First of all, Britt is saying she wants to handle Cullum herself, and Lucas is still wanting to help her. Britt even went into some diatribe about how she would rather succumb to her illness than keep building that weapon. I'm still confused as to why Britt can't use other things to help fight her Huntington's disease. It's not like she's the only person in the world with that disease. I guess that's another plot hole, but that's not even the plot hole that I'm talking about. Lucas kind of hyped Britt up about her being tired of fighting because all Lucas knows is that Britt loves to fight. But Britt just feels like she is being forced to protect the man who killed Marco. And then Britt wants to tell Sidwell that Cullum is the one that killed Marco because that is the logical thing to do. And that is the big plot hole with these heroes. Why wouldn't they try and turn Cullum and Sidwell against each other? Well, the only reason they're not doing that is so the show can stretch out the story. But we're not supposed to think that way. Anyway, Lucas is the one with the plot hole who is saying he doesn't like telling Sidwell that because then Sidwell will just kill Cullum. And then they won't have enough information on Sidwell to take Sidwell down. And I understand Lucas's point of view that he wants to take Sidwell down because he thinks Sidwell has been the big problem. He was the problem in Marco's life. Sidwell's the reason that Marco is dead. There's still no logic as to why Lucas would not want to tell Sidwell that Cullum killed Marco and turn Sidwell and Cullum against each other. Lucas is saying, well, he wants to find more info against Sidwell first before maybe they do that. But there's nothing that hurts their overall plan. Say Sidwell kills Cullum, why can't they still look for evidence against Sidwell? In fact, Sidwell, in theory, in logic, would be weakened because he had to go against someone that was helping him out. It doesn't make any sense to me. I don't like it. This is a problem with plot-driven writing when it's too plot-driven. And they tried to fix a plot hole here, but they failed, in my opinion. Let's move on to some of the other things. Let's move on to the only thing I liked about yesterday's episode before we get into the rest of the episode. I enjoyed Rick and Ethan meeting each other for the first time, Sonny introducing them to each other, Sonny wanting Ethan to be straight with him about what he wants. Ethan said he needs a job. The best thing about these scenes was that Rick was very questionable about Ethan, poking at Ethan about maybe he just wants a job because he lost a lot of money via poker. And I like that Rick is being protective of Sonny here and the organization. It's just been a very nice change of Rick to kind of be sticking up for Sonny and trying to protect him. But yes, Rick was full of questions for Ethan. Ethan said he heard Sonny had an opening, was sorry to hear about Jason, and Rick called Ethan out that Ethan is angling to take Jason's place. Ethan said he knows he can't take Jason's place and that he would prove himself to Sonny. And Sonny thinks that a son of Luke's would be loyal and eager to prove himself. Rick wasn't so sure, though, saying that Ethan just had a meeting with Robert Scorpio, which is who should have been Ethan's dad in the first place. Maybe we could actually get some closure to the Robert Scorpio character if Robert was Ethan's dad and not Luke. But, that's a past problem, a very distant past problem on this show. Sonny believes that Ethan didn't come over to get one over on him and had Rick interview Ethan for the job. So that's what Rick did. Ethan made a bunch of pitches because of who his parents are and his past. He would be great at being a little worker bee for Sonny. Rick was still doubtful though, but Sonny decided that even though he thinks Rick is right logically, sometimes friendship trumps logic. And since Luke was important to Sonny, he's going to take Ethan on. Says to Ethan, don't abuse his trust. When Ethan left, he was acting very suspicious. Also, when Ethan left, Sonny told Rick that he doesn't think Ethan is hiding something, and he does think Ethan is hiding something, but he needs to keep Ethan close to find out what that is. And he reiterated that he's doing it for Luke. So this story seems to be for Luke. I'm fine with it. I still think Ethan returning is very random. I still think this whole thing is very random. But I've been enjoying the Rick and Sonny stuff enough to want to see how this plays out. So that was the most entertaining thing about yesterday's episode. The rest of the episode was not very good, We had Dante, Lulu, and Rocco basically having the same scenes that Dante and Rocco have been having the last 2 times they were on together, where he can tell that Rocco is concerned about Danny, but Dante just thinks that Rocco feels bad because Rocco has his 2 parents and Danny doesn't. Then Rocco went to the hospital to, I guess, do volunteer work, and he ended up in Cullum's room. I guess this was Rocco's way of checking up on Cullum. He helped Cullum with a pillow. Of course, Britt saw that Rocco was in Cullum's room, kind of freaked a little, got him out of the room, told him that he should stay in pediatrics. By the end of the episode, though, our cliffhanger for the day was that Rocco was admitting to following Britt to the pier that night and said that he knew that Cullum tried to kill Britt. Britt thought that Rocco was a witness, but he admitted he was more than a witness. Rocco admitted that he was the one that shot Cullum, not Jason. So now Britt knows the truth. So at least we did get some story movement out of this episode, even if the Britt and Lucas conversation before all of that was extremely stupid. I'll just say right now, I did not watch the Molly and Cody scenes. I don't watch this live like I watch Beyond the Gates. I watch on Hulu the next morning, and thus I was able to fast forward Molly and Cody, and I will continue to do so as long as I review this show, because they are the sleep-inducing story on this show. I know that they had some, while I was fast-forwarding, I saw that they had some love scenes, and I'm sure they were as boring as any other scenes that those two have together. The other story on was the Curtis and Jordan storyline at the hospital, although at first Curtis saw Isaiah and Portia talking about her pregnancy and Isaiah feeling his belly. Portia had good news for Curtis that their baby is in perfect health, but Curtis was upset that Isaiah went to the checkup appointment with Portia, but Curtis was just in a car accident. Curtis has been extremely annoying throughout this entire car accident storyline because he is more to blame than Jordan for wanting to get frisky while she was driving. And he's just allowing Jordan to blame herself for taking her eyes off the road as if he wasn't a big old bald distraction. But anyway, Jordan was our other story for today, who at first was talking to Felicia at the hospital, getting all her paperwork for her stay at the hospital. And Felicia tried to tell Jordan that she thinks that Jordan might need to join the trauma support group. And I understand that obviously Jordan would have trauma after this bad accident. I just don't know if I buy how much they're leaning into her trauma coming from the scar on her face so quickly over the, almost dying part of the trauma. Isaiah came to try and talk to Jordan, but he ended up just upsetting her because Jordan felt like he was minimizing her experience. And then when Curtis came back, Jordan was blaming herself for taking her eyes off the road, trying to tell Curtis that she was the one that just went off on Isaiah. She kind of got angry in the moment. And of course, once again, Curtis isn't telling Jordan, well, I was the one kissing you in the car, so it's kind of my fault too, babe. I'm just so sorry. No, none of that. Instead, Curtis gives Isaiah grief, telling him to stay away from Jordan. And then Portia ended up running into Jordan when she was taking a walk at the hospital and was trying to help Jordan. But Jordan said, "Is this what it took for you to finally be civil with me?" And then she told Portia very dramatically to not be nice to her if it's just because she pities her. So yeah, Jordan was very dramatic in this episode. I think I would like the story more if I just believed that, if they had the build that Jordan was the kind of character that was just so vain about her face. And I still get it. Like, if I had a big scar on my face as a Libra moon, as a shallow Libra moon, I'm sure I would be freaking out too. So I'm trying to be more understandable of it. I just don't know if it fits the character. It's a little over the top for the character that used to be a cop, in my opinion. But that's what we got yesterday. Not my favorite episode. Don't love the holes in the plot-driven writing, and I feel like they just made it worse with the Lucas and Britt conversation. Hoping that the rest of the week is better than yesterday.